كلام ده إيه الرسالة الأول نقول له تامر كويس ووزير المالية والناس بتاع البنك المركزي وانا بهاي المدينه بتاع البنك المركزي ما 4 يوم كلامه كان قال قبل كده ده سيستم جديد وقال كلام اذا قروج انت وصل كلام تبان من قبل يا جماعه ودي قروج للبنوك التجاريه عشان الشعب يصرف اموال بتاعه يا جماعه الشعب بقى تعبان يعني كل طريق مدارس ناس جعانين موت بينكم وشنو كلام جماعه بتاع دي كوارتر كلام كل يوم ليش شنو؟ يا ودي ولا تساعد ده نقول له تعال كويس تعال بليزا وزي ما قال تعال بليزا معطل البنك تعال بليزا عشان الشعب ده يسالكم سؤالات اللي كده تعبانين من كلامات تسريات بدون فايده تسريات كثير بدون فايده تسريات لمناسبهم بس لجيوبهم بس لمسالهم بس.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. The peace monitoring body RGMX says 2025 has been the most challenging year for the implementation of South Sudan's revitalized peace agreement since it was signed in 2018. The South Sudan Revenue Authority says several government institutions have yet to fully adopt e-government systems despite a noticeable increase in non-oil revenue since the introduction of digital systems. And Central Equatorial State Ministry of Animal Resources, Fisheries and Tourism has ordered the immediate closure of Rock City and Korwoliang slaughterhouses. There's these stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo. And now the news in detail. The peace monitoring body RGMX says 2025 has been the most challenging year for the implementation of South Sudan's revitalized peace agreement since it was signed in 2018. Emmanuel Joseph Akile has more.
In its latest quarterly report, RJMAC cites persistent political and security violations by the signatory parties as having systematically affected the implementation of key provisions and weakened the institutions and mechanisms established under the agreement. The report, covering the period from 1st July to 30th September 2025, warns that the ongoing violations and delays pose serious risks to South Sudan's transition, especially as the country prepares for its first democratic elections in less than 15 months. According to the body, ceasefire violations significantly increased during the reporting period, particularly involving the SSPDF and SPLA-IO across Upper Nile, Jonglei, Western Equatoria, Central Equatoria and Eastern Equatoria states, indicating widespread breaches of the permanent ceasefire and transitional security arrangements. Quoting data from the Ceasefire and Transitional Security Arrangements Monitoring and Verification Mechanism, RJMEC revealed that the statement partially read, and I quote, "In August 2025, 35 out of 120 daily reports from our mobile verification teams contained violations representing 25% of the total. In September, 60 out of 120 reports contained violations, a 50% rate, constituting an increase of nearly 73%. There is need for a deliberate effort for all the parties to dialogue and return to inclusive implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. Failure to do so risks putting the South Sudan peace process at risk and will set a bad precedent for future peace processes." The report further notes that CTSAM VM has struggled to investigate these incidents due to access challenges and escalating violence in several areas. The split in the political wing of the SPLM-SPLA-IO has interfered with their representation in CTSAM VM structures. RJMEC pointed to disruptions in the monitoring and verification teams and the Joint Monitoring Coordination Office. Meanwhile, RJMEC reported no progress in the commencement of Phase 2 of the unification of forces, a key pending task under the peace agreement. The monitoring body urged all parties to cease hostilities, embrace dialogue, and reactivate implementation mechanisms, calling for full adherence to the permanent ceasefire. It also recommended that the unity government expedite the Council of Ministers meeting to discuss the national budget and the financial bill for 2025-2026, retable the National Security Service Act before the Transitional National Legislature, and enact pending laws revised by the National Constitutional Amendment Committee, including the 2 petroleum laws and the non-governmental organization bill. RJMEG stressed that all stakeholders must faithfully adhere to the mandate to implement the peace agreement in letter and spirit to realize free, fair, and credible elections in December 2026. The body also called on IGAD to urgently convene a Council of Ministers meeting and an IGAD Heads of State and Government Summit to discuss South Sudan's current situation and take timely, appropriate remedial actions. According to the Peace Accord, RJMEC is mandated to monitor and oversee the implementation of the 2018 peace deal, including the adherence of parties to agreed timelines and commitments. RJMEC concludes that unless parties recommit to dialogue and inclusivity, South Sudan's peace process and democratic transition could face serious setbacks. For iRadio News, Emmanuel Joseph Akile.
Thanks, Emmanuel Joseph Akile. The South Sudan Revenue Authority says several government institutions have yet to fully adopt e-government systems despite noticeable increase in non-oil revenue since the introduction of digital systems. In a press statement signed by the Commissioner General Simon Akwe, dated October 21, 2025, the Revenue Authority said that the institutions include the Ministry of Trade and Civil Aviation Authority. Others are the South Sudan National Bureau of Standards and the Directorate of Immigration, among others. According to the authority, average monthly collections stood at just £3 billion in 2020, marking what it describes as unprecedented growth driven by strategic reforms and enhanced accountability in public finance. The digital reform program implemented across ministries, departments, and agencies has streamlined public service delivery, improved revenue tracking, reduced corruption, and strengthened transparency. The agency said one of the most visible outcomes of the reforms has been the government's ability to pay civil servants' salaries on time every month since 2024. It added that the collaboration between the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology and the Revenue Authority has reshaped the national revenue system, resulting in improved governance and fiscal management. However, it said, and I quote, "Despite these successes, some government institutions have yet to adopt e-government systems. These include the Ministry of Trade, Civil Aviation Authority, South Sudan National Bureau of Standards, and the Directorate of Immigration, among others." End quote. The Revenue Authority is urging the bodies that are yet to adopt the digital systems to accelerate their transition toward full digitalization. This, according to the tax institution, will expand the national revenue base, strengthen transparency, guarantee timely salary payments, and support the country's sustainable development goals. It added that a fully digital public sector is critical for consolidating these gains and ensuring long-term resilience. Central Equatorial State Ministry of Animal Resources, Fisheries and Tourism has ordered the immediate closure of Rock City and Korwuliang slaughterhouses in Juba. It also banned all slaughtering activities at the sites following public complaints about illegal and hazardous practices that pose serious health risks. Speaking to journalist Minister Alex Latu earlier warned that slaughtering was being conducted illegally on the ground, with butchers washing meat in nearby running water, a practice he described as unhygienic and a source of diseases for state governments.
لنا العديد من غرفة تجارية خلينا جاي نتساوى سنة بفيكس برايس عشان بتساعدنا يعني عشان كده أنا قال خلاص دي 20 تلفونه 40 أنا قلت دورة برضه كمان باف بتوع تلفونه 40 دي بفرة ناس تانيين بكتوا ب 20 تانيين ما 25 تانيين ما 35 أنا قال خلاص الماكسيموم تلفون 25 دي حاجات كبيرة إنباك فوقه إما في حاجات تانيين اللي زي سكر شنو بيزنس كوميونيتي ومن كمان عنده رأي بيزيد أجد بتمن شوية زي كان زي السكر ده بدل كان بيجيبوا 5,000 يعني عصا ده سكر بطال يو كلمات البابات من بقدر يزيدوا 1000 فوق في كيلو من بقدر يزيدوا 1000 فوق بيكون 9,000 كل حاجات هنعمله مؤمن سوا نزيدوا يا عشان كده أنا بقى أعمل local order عشان ده بيكون local order بقدر جايد أن أنا بقدر
جينا في زيارة تفقدية للسلخانة بتاع جبل في روك سيتي. احنا كوزارة جينا شكوى من المواطنين الموجودين قريب هنا انه في ممارسات تبعت اللحوم فتعرف التراب زي ما انتم شايفين هنا، فالكلام ده قاعد يسبب من امراض كثير للمواطنين في هنا. عشان كده احنا جينا هنا مع تيم بتاعنا بتاع وزارة وكل الجهات المسؤولة عشان نيجي نشوف الكلام اللي جابوه شكوى ده صح ولا ما صح. زي ما انتم شايفين المحل ده كله دم والناس بيذبحوا فوق غنميات بطريقة غير قانوني، لانه ده ما سلخانه، ده بس جراوند، هم شغالين بيذبحوا في جراوند. وزي ما انتم شايفين بورا هنا ده كور ده بيشيلوا مويه من فوقه عشان يغسلوا به لحم، والمويه ده بيكون ملوث، بعد ده بيمشي من هنا برضه بيمشي لحد في احياء. عشان كده احنا كوزاره احنا وجهنا رئيس الجزارين المسؤول من السلخانات في جوبا انه المحل ده يتقفل من الان. المحل ده احنا we suspended the operation the slaughtering of cattle في المحل ده.
Latio warned that anyone defying this decision will face legal action, have their license revoked, their meat confiscated, and a case opened against them. He affirmed that the state government will not allow its butchers to engage in such illegal practices, adding that these unhygienic operations contribute to the spread of many diseases. The minister urged all relevant authorities to support the ministry's efforts to curb these activities and call on citizens to report any illegal slaughter operations.
أي ممارسات دبعت اللحوم في شارع وفي جواهلة. إحنا وقفنا محل ده من يوم الليلة برضو قلنا لازم أي زول يلقوه هنا قاعد يتبع لحم يتم القبض عليه يقفلوا جوا. حتى الأبقار الموجودين هنا ده يرحلوا من هنا. لو جينا مرة جاي لقينا أبقار هنا برضو بنقبض أبقار بنشيله. وسيد الواتا هنا ده إحنا بنقبض بنشيله. زي ما ده الأمراض الكثيرة اللي بيجي من لحوم ده بيجي من الناس اللي بيعمل ممارسات زي ده. بعدين احنا عايزين يا جماعه المواطنين والكوتا كانسل خليه يكون اكتيف. ما ممكن يعني شكل هلا بيكون موجود وانت بتقبل انه ابقار يتباعوا في جواهلا وتعرف تجيب الريبورت. القوانين بتاعنا البايلوز تاع جوبا ما بيسمح ان ابقار يكون يتباعوا جواهلا. فاحنا دايرين يا جماعه الكوتا كانسلز والكانسلرز خليه يشتغل الشغل بتاعهم. والناس البلوك دايركتورز برضه هم يشتغلوا الشغل بتاعهم. وعشان كده احنا وجهنا رئيس الجزارين برضو انه اي زول يعني تيم القبض عليه قاعد يشتغل هنا ده يجردوا منه كل رخصه.
As part of long-term solutions, he appealed to development partners, leaders and private sector to participate in establishing modern slaughterhouses to curb illegal practices, while also urging the Ministry of Health to intensify monitoring efforts. For his part, Angelo Wane Nyombe, head of Butchers Union, confirmed the closure and issued a message to butchers in Custom, Rock City and Jebel, adding that Rock City and Korwuliang slaughterhouses must be closed and any violation of this order will result in legal action and license withdrawal. Nyombe emphasized that the only official and approved slaughterhouses in the state are Gumbo and Gudele near Haboba Bridge and called on all butchers to operate through formal channels to safeguard public health and food safety. This is iRadio News. Authorities in Mundri West County of Western Equatorial State have introduced a new directive setting fixed prices for locally produced items in an effort to stabilize the local market. Under the new order, a basin of maize grain and sorghum will each sell at 40,000 South Sudan pounds, up from 35,000 South Sudan pounds, while a basin of cassava flour is now set at 25,000 South Sudan pound. Speaking to iRadio in an exclusive interview this morning, County Commissioner Zalifa Dawa explained the rationale behind the decision.
Then Nadina with Gulfa Tijaria, telling again it's our the fixed prices and the side now. Yeah, Sakira Nagal Kala, the Asherit Telefonu Arbaid, and Naguta Dura, back the command buff the Telefonu Arbaid, the Bafora, not Tani Bukutu be Shirin, Tani Makamsa Shirin, Tani Makamsa Teletin, and Nagal Kala, maximum Telefon comes to Shirin. They Hajata Kidirna in Bakfogo. In Mafe Hajata Nina, Lize Sukar Shinu, business community, Kaman, and the right is I get become sure. They can just sukar de, but they cannot give you a Kamsa Yana Sade Shika Batal, your Kalamata Baba, Mumbagan Zido Alfogo, if kilo, Mumbagan Zido Alfogo, between Peter Alfolo Hajat and Namolo, Moment Sawa and Zidu, Yas and Kida, and Nabi. I'm a local order, as an local order, they are their guide and none about their minimize our market. They are Hajat and Nakanamolo.
Commissioner Dawa added that the pricing measures was developed in collaboration with the business community after an evaluation of current market conditions. The Parliamentary Specialized Committee on Gender, Child and Social Welfare is seeking urgent action from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to pass several crucial pieces of legislation before the end of the year. The committee's chairperson, Nyayong Johnson Locke, called for the swift approval of pending bills crucial for safeguarding vulnerable groups. These legislations include the African Charter on the Rights of the Child, the Child Labor Bill, the Family Law Bill, the Women Empowerment Bill, and the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Bill. This renewed push echoes a similar call made in August 2025 by Chairperson Nyayong Locke, who appealed to the former Minister of Justice during a sitting of the Transitional National Legislative Assembly. At that time, Nyayong expressed concern that the absence of these laws, particularly the Child Labor Accountability Bill, hampers the government's ability to hold individuals accountable for employing children in a street work. The Ministry of Justice, led by Dr. Joseph Gang Akech, has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring all necessary legal frameworks are in place to safeguard the rights and welfare of women and children across the country. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Jemanunu Kumba, had previously acknowledged the urgency of the matter, stressing the importance of the family and the anti-GBV bills. She called on the Ministry of Justice to ensure all outstanding bills are presented and passed before the end of the transitional period. This is iRadio News. And now to the international scene. At least 40 migrants, including children, have died after their boat sank off the coast of Tunisia in one of the deadliest maritime disasters in the region this year, according to the authorities. An official said the boat sank off the Mediterranean port of Mahdia in central Tunisia while carrying about 70 migrants. All the people on board were from sub-Saharan Africa, the official added, without providing further details. This is the latest disaster to hit migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean from Africa to Europe. In neighboring Kenya, the High Court in Nairobi has temporarily suspended the enforcement of key provisions in the country's Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Amendment Act 2024 pending a constitutional petition. Justice Lawrence Mugambi issued the orders after musician and activist Ruben Kigame Lichete and Kenya Human Rights Commission challenged sections of the law they say violate privacy, freedom of expression, and media independence. The contested provisions include those on digital surveillance, online content regulation, and expanded state powers over cyber activities. The petitioners argue the amendments are vague, enable excessive government control, and breach the Data Protection Act 2019. Finally, the U.S. Secretary of State has said that a move by Israel's parliament towards annexation of the occupied West Bank would threaten Washington's plan to end the conflict in Gaza. Marco Rubio said before leaving for Israel as part of U.S. efforts to shore up a fragile ceasefire deal that it's not something we can be supportive of right now. This is iRadio News. And now to the world of sports. Here is Madrama James.
In the South Sudan Premier League, Bentiu Al-American Holy Family will face off today at 3:30 in a crucial match for the top spots in the league. Tomorrow, Friday, Jamus FC Chuba will play Olympic Reng, while Al-Salam will take on Yei Lion Hunters in another exciting fixture of the same round. South Sudan Under-17 national football team head coach Nasser Yusuf has announced the preliminary of 45 players in preparation for the African Cup of Nations qualifiers for Under-17 World Cup. Wajuma FC head coach John Alier has been appointed as assistant coach. In the UEFA Champions League matches, both Chelsea and Liverpool recorded emphatic 5-1 victory over Ajax Amsterdam and Frankfurt respectively. Bayern Munich secured a 4-0 win against Belgium's Club Brugge, while Real Madrid edged past Juventus with a narrow 1-win victory. In the other fixtures, Sporting Lisbon defeated Marseille 2-1 and the clash between Monaco and Tottenham ended in a goalless draw. However, Victor Osimhen scored twice and contributed to another Galatasaray record, their second successive Champions League win in a comfortable fashion against Budo. In NBA, Victor scored 40 points as San Antonio Spurs started their season with a convincing 125-92 win over the Dallas. The Frenchman, marking his first appearance in the regular season since undergoing surgery on his shoulder for a deep vein in February, recorded the fifth 40-point match of his career. The 21-year-old performance overshadowed a nervous start from a copper flag on his NBA debut. The 18-year-old, the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft, became the second youngest starter in the NBA history before LeBron James on his debut. But the teenager struggled to impose himself, failing to score until his second half and finishing on 10 points. These are some of the stories making headlines in the world of sports.
Thanks, Madrama James. This is iReady News, and to end this bulletin, here's a recap of the headlines. The peace monitoring body RJMX says 2025 has been the most challenging year for the implementation of South Sudan's revitalized peace agreement since it was signed in 2018. The South Sudan Revenue Authority says several government institutions have yet to fully adopt e-government systems despite a noticeable increase in non-oil revenue since the introduction of digital systems. And Central Equatorial State Ministry of Animal Resources, Fisheries and Tourism has ordered the immediate closure of Rock City and Corwilliang slaughterhouses. That's the end of iRadio News. If there's a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message at +211 925 287870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 12:30. I am Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.